So in this lesson, we'll talk about one of the feature called as the network security groups on the virtual machine on the network interface card. This feature is, I would say, very helpful for small organizations or small or individuals who are running like in 2-3 virtual machines or a couple of virtual machines, and still they want to protect from the internet threats. So we have Azure could be of, I would say, a central India data center or some wherever we call it as an Azure region data center. I'm calling it as a central India. Let's assume that there is a central India where we are using this region. So when we create virtual machines in the data center by default, so you have an option of a public IPs. So it means that these virtual machines will get a public IPs assigned when you default create a virtual machines. It means that they are being exposed to the internet. They are exposed to the internet. So these virtual machines have a NIC. So the gets have a public IP address assigned. IP address gets mapped to this virtual machine. It is a choice whether you want to have a public IP or not, but as a default, when we create a virtual machines in Azure, so without any customization, so it takes in a public IP address. So what is that public IP address? It means that this machine is accessible across the globe or exposed to the internet. So now a lot of security threats are being exposed. Now the entire virtual machine gets exposed. Now what Azure does is, so initially Azure had a basic public IP address where all the ports are being allowed. It means that the entire virtual machine is being exposed to the internet if there is a public IP address assigned. Later, Microsoft introduced the standard public IP addresses once they brought in the zones into picture. So Microsoft applied a default security policy on the public IP addresses. So any public IP address which is being created or assigned to your virtual machine, by default, it has a denied traffic. It means a default Microsoft Azure will protects or restricts all the traffic on this particular public IP address. It means that now how are we going to now access the virtual machine, or how are we going to control? Now I'm going to run an IIS web server, so which needs to be accessible across the globe. Then if Microsoft Azure blocks all the traffic, then what should we do? So Microsoft gave a feature called as, I would say called as a component called as a network security group. Okay. So network security group is a firewall at a network level. This is at a network level, which is called as an NSG, network security group, which is a firewall at a network level. So this acts like a firewall at network interface level for an Azure virtual machine. So this network security group will inspect the incoming traffic from internet. So any traffic which is coming in either from the internet or from the Azure virtual network, it is going to inspect. Any traffic which is going out from the virtual machine, is being inspected. So we call it as an inbound traffic and an outbound traffic. So anything which is coming in from the a virtual network or from the internet to a virtual machine operating system, then we call that as an inbound. An operating system or an applications which are running on the Azure virtual machine, if they are trying to access something else, like a user is browsing an internet or accessing some other application or communicating within a database server or anything, now that is called as an outbound. It's called as an outbound. So anything which goes, so I'm calling it as an Azure VM1, which is, let's assume that there is a web server which is running and we have an Azure virtual machine. So I'm calling it as a VM2. Let me call it as a database server. A database application, call it as database purpose. So which this network security group will inspect the inbound traffic and outbound traffic and controls the traffic. Like we have a security guard in front of the office premises. So what security guard will do? So when I'm entering into office, first he will check, do I have an ID card? So if I have a ID card, security guard will allow me. If there is no ID card, the security guard will question me, sir, do you have an ID card? Are you authorized to enter into office premises? Do you have a temporary ID card? Whatever it is, that he will stop you and question you that whether you have an ID card to authorize you to enter into that office premises. Similarly, the network security group, any traffic which is coming in is inspected and checks the rules. So the network security group has the rules. So what traffic need to be allowed, what traffic needs to be denied. So based on the rules configured, the NSG will allow the traffic or deny the traffic based on various conditions. Similarly, when a user or an application sitting inside the Azure virtual machine is communicating with another application or to the internet, the network security group inspects the outbound traffic and controls it whether to allow or deny it based on the rules. So it is more of a personal firewall, operates at a network level. All inbound and outbound traffic, then controls the traffic, allow, deny traffic based on the rules. So by default, the inbound traffic is denied as a default rule. The network security group will deny all the traffic explicitly if we enable it or allow it. By default, the outbound traffic is being enabled. It means that allowed. So the applications which are sitting inside the Azure virtual machine can communicate with internet, can communicate with other applications. But the inbound traffic is being denied. Now by using the NSG, so we have to create and allow rules in order to do that. So the virtual machines will have a private IP and public IP mapped to the private IP. So you'll have a public IP which gets mapped to a private IP. So the network security group will have a rules, like as we see, called as a priority, name of the rule, port number, protocol, source, destination, and action. Typically, this is called as an 5 triple rules. Okay. So what does that mean by it? Priority. The least number place in priority is order of validating the rules or validating the traffic. Starts with 100. So you can start with 100 as the least value, and you can have any value between the 65,000 and 2,000. From a between a 200 and between from 100 to 65,000, you can have any value. But the least number is the first priority. So let's say if I'm having a rule number, a priority 100, I'm giving another rule as a 200, another rule as in 210, another rule as in 250, another rule as in 300. Like this, we can create rules. So why I'm taking 100 to 200? The next rule. In future, if you want to create a one more rule between these two, we can have like a 110 or 101, 102 like that. So it becomes easy for us if some other new rules to be created in the future between these two now. So now the first one will be, the priority will be 100 rule. The second priority will be 200. The third rule will be 210. The fourth rule will be 250. The fifth rule will be 300. So that priority makes important or basically plays an important role in the network security groups. We'll understand. Now the priority has a name. The rule has a name. Name we can give any name, like an allow, I'm saying called as an HTTPS traffic. So you can have any kind of a name. And you have it, we called as a port number. So every application runs on a port, a network port. Now what port you want to allow or deny? So as I see, HTTPS traffic will runs on a port number called as a 443. So I want to control a 443. Now you have a source. Source from which do I want to allow from anywhere? Or do I want to allow from a specific IP address? Or do I want to allow from a couple of IP addresses, source IP address? So the source defines from where. Now I'm saying call destination from any. It means that from anywhere. Now we would see call destination, a protocol, source, destination. So a protocol can be like in your HTTPS is a protocol, or you can have a TCP or a UDP, whatever it is. Destination. Now one network security group can be mapped to multiple virtual machines. The same network security group can be applied on the virtual machine 1 and virtual machine 2. Now the IP address of this virtual machine is 10.10.10.11 and the virtual machine IP address is in 10.10.10.12. So it's not necessary that for every virtual machine we need a network security group. We can create one network security group and map to the multiple virtual machines. Now, my requirement is I want to allow port number 443 only to this virtual machine. But I don't want a 443 to be database server because there is no web server running on the database VM. So I don't need it. So in this case, the destination I'm saying called as a 10.10.10.11. 10.10.10. So I'm allowing an HTTPS traffic from anywhere to this virtual machine called as in 10.10.11. What is the action I'm saying? Either allow or deny. Allow or deny. Now I'm saying called as an allow or deny. Next. So what happens in this case? So we are allowing a traffic to a virtual machine 10.10.10.11 only HTTPS traffic. So I'm saying called as an Allow RDP traffic, which is 3389, protocol which is RDP. Source, I'm giving an IP. Let me take that IP called as a 183 dot something. Okay. Destination, I'm giving any. I'm saying called as a allow. Let's take some public IP 183 dot some. 82.0 dot 0 dot 73. So what exactly I'm trying to tell here is so port number 3389, which is an RDP protocol, from only this particular IP address to any virtual machine, I'm allowing it. I'm allowing it. I'm creating another rule. Allow endpoint management center or something. I'm giving a port number called as an 8080, which is a TCP traffic, which is a TCP traffic from this particular IP address to any, I'm saying called as an allow, called as an allow. Now like this, we can create a rules. So when a traffic is coming in, the network security group checks, is it an inbound traffic or outbound traffic? Inbound traffic, yes. It loads the inbound rules. How many rules are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It loads all the 5 rules. Then checks the traffic is matching the first priority rule 100. What is this? We are taking port number. Is it a 443? It checks. If no, then it goes to the second rule. Then checks 443. If it's not, then it goes to the second rule. Is the port 43389? Yes. Then checks. What is the next condition? Source. Is it coming from the same IP address or a different IP address? No. It means the rule got failed. The condition should satisfy all these things. It means that 443, source, destination, and action. These 3 conditions should match. Then only the action will be taken. If any one of these conditions is failed, then this rule is not applied. So I'm coming from an IP address called as 210.210. Some IP. This is my source IP. So I'm trying to do an RDP to one of the virtual machine. 3389. It checks the first rule. Is it a port 3389? No. So it is not processing this rule. It is going to the second rule. Is the port 3389? Yes. What is the next condition? IP address. From which IP address is coming in? 210.201.10.10. It is not matching. It means this condition is not matching. Then goes the third rule, which is a priority 210. Is it a port number 3389? No. Now it goes to the last rule, which is 65,000. As we see, 65,500. What is the last rule? When all the rules are not matching any traffic, any port, any protocol, from any source, from any destination to any destination, which is deny. is deny. Now, when these rules are not matching, what is the last rule says? Anything is denied. So it means that, so if the user is coming from this particular IP address, as there is no allow rule for this particular IP address, it is going to deny the traffic. So now, so it keeps validating rule after the rule after the rule until now. If there is a deny rule, I'm saying called as an, so allow RDP 3389 from anywhere. Allow. Now second rule is matching. So if the user is trying to access this one, 3389 from anywhere, it means that it doesn't bother about the source IP to any virtual machine. It doesn't bother about it. It says allow. Now it allows the traffic. Now I'm creating a one more rule. What is the rule called as 110? Deny RDP traffic. I'm saying 3389, which is RDP protocol, from a source called as 210.201.1.10.10 to any destination. I'm saying called as a deny. Now there is a deny rule 110. So why I'm keeping, let's see that. Now 110 no. Now user is coming from an IP address called as 110.110.10.10.20 or something IP address. So the user is trying to RDP an Azure virtual machine from this IP. First rule, is it a 3389? No. It goes to second rule. What is the second rule? 3389. Yes, it is matching. Is the user coming from this IP address? No, he is coming from a different IP. So is this condition false? Then it goes to third rule. What is the third rule? 3389. Yes. What is that word? Anything. That means that is coming from anywhere. What is that? It is allow. Now what happens here now? The user will be able to access the RDP from anywhere. But let's say assume that the user is coming from this IP, trying to access an RDP. The first rule says allow. HTTP 443. Is the condition matching? No. It goes to second rule. Is it 3389? Yes. Is it coming from this IP address? Yes. What is it from any destination? What is the action? Denied. Now, if the user is coming from this particular IP address, it is denies it. But what happens if I create an allow rule with 105 here and 110? Now the rules are like this. So 100 says allow, 105 allow traffic from anywhere allow, 110 0 to 10. So let's say the user is coming from 110 trying to access an RDP. First rule 443 is not matching. So it goes to second rule RDP matching 3389. From anywhere is coming in. Yes, it is allow it. Let's say the user is coming from 210. 3389 failed. It comes to second rule RDP 3389. Yes, is it coming from anywhere? Allow it. He will be able to access the RDP. So any one rule matches, it will not going to validate other rules. If this is matching, what is the criteria action here? Allow, allow. So it is not going to validate other rules. Now you have a deny rule where you are denying it from 210.201.110.10. But above that rule, there is an allow rule, which allows the traffic. So we need to be very careful that, okay, which rule should be created first, which rule should be created second, which rule should be third. Priority makes it important. So we have to be very. So this way, the NSG is going to process the rules. Similarly, the outbound rules will have. So by default, everything is being allowed to the internet. That is the reason why the user will be able to access the internet. Let's see that how we can apply this analysis. Let me create two virtual machines. I'm creating a VM1. Disks networking. So when we're creating a networking, we see option called as a network security group. I'm not creating now. So when you select a basic means, it'll create a network security group explicitly for this virtual machine. And when you go for advanced, it's going to create this, but you will have you have to define the set rules. So I'm creating none. So I'm not creating any network security group for this virtual machine for now. Let me create one more virtual machine. I'm creating VM2. I'm going to the networking. I'm selecting network security group, none, create. So now I'm creating two virtual machines without a network security group. So I have this virtual machine got created. Now you see there is a public IP. I'm taking this public IP. I'm trying to do an RDP. As I said, by default, when there is no network security group assigned to the public IP or interface, so by default, all the traffic is denied. So I will not be able to connect to the Azure virtual machine. I'm going to the other virtual machine. I'm taking the public IP. It is still, it's not in healthy condition. Let's wait for some time. Now I see that I'm not able to access it. Let's try the other virtual machine. I'm taking a public IP of the virtual machine. I'm trying to connect to an RDP to this virtual machine. As there is no network security group assigned, so by default, Azure will blocks all the traffic on the public IP address. So I'm going to network security group, search in the search bar, network security groups. I'm creating a network security group. I'm even called as an NSG hyphen VMs. Let me see in which location. South India. The VMs got created in South India. Okay, South India. I'm creating a network security group. So the network security group is an independent component which can be mapped to the virtual machines. Now we got the network security group created. So we see inbound security rules. By default, these three rules will be there. Virtual network, that means the communication is being allowed from within the virtual network. Communication from load balancer is being allowed. Apart from these two, from anywhere else, the default traffic is denied. When I go to the outbound rules, there are default rules got created. Virtual network allowed, internet allowed. Because as the internet is allowed, it can communicate with anywhere and to the virtual network. Now I go to the virtual machine, network settings. So as we would see here, no port rules apply. Add a network security group. Where is going to, sorry, I have to, it's creating it, it'll create it here, I have to map it. Okay, let me go to the net card, network security group. So I can select a network security group, which I created, save. So let me go to another virtual machine, which we created. VM2, network settings. Go to the interface, network security group, then select the network security. Now I mapped the same network security group to both the virtual machines. Okay. Now we would see these two VMs having two different public IPs. And I want a private IP. Yeah, private IP address, we can see 10.00.5, 10.00.6 is the IP addresses of these two virtual machines. However, we have not created any rules. So I'm taking the public IP of the virtual machine. I'm trying to connect an RDP. Because there is no inbound rule to allow an RDP. To allow an inbound. So now I'm going to this virtual machine, sorry, network security group. Inbound rules. I'm creating an inbound rule. I'm saying from anywhere. Source port range from anywhere. The source range. Destination, I'm giving it 10.0.0.5. Service, I'm giving it RDP. Allow priority 100. So I added a rule which says an RDP from anywhere to the virtual machine called as in 10.0.0.5. So, but there are two virtual machines. But I allowed for only one virtual machine, 10.0.0.5. Now, let me take the public IP. So whenever you add a rule or a deny or delete a rule, NSG, it would take roughly around 1 minute to apply it. Sometimes even it takes 2 minutes of time, but so now it see I'm able to access the Azure virtual machine 10.0.0.5. Now let me go to the another virtual machine, VM2. I'll take the public IP of this one. But we haven't allowed RDP traffic to this virtual machine. So I will not be able to connect to this virtual machine. Because in the NSG, we allowed only for one virtual machine. So first virtual machine, we are able to connect. Second virtual machine, we are not able to connect. Now I'm going to the NSG. I'm editing this rule. So destination. So we can specify the range or we can specify the multiple IP addresses. So I'm giving comma 10.0.0.6. So I'm saying that now I'm allowing RDP traffic from anywhere to these two virtual machines. Now I'm taking the public IP of the second virtual machine. Earlier we were not able to connect. Now we should be able to connect RDP to the second virtual machine. Still the rule is not applied. Okay. So as I said, sometimes it takes a minute. Yeah, now we can see now we are able to log into this machine. So that's way we can create a recipe. Now this is rule 100. I'm changing at any point of time. I can change this rule number based on priority. I can adjust it. So I'm creating another rule. Source an IP address. I'm taking this IP address, public IP. I'm taking from source. Destination, I'm giving IP address 10.10.0.0.6 virtual machine. I'm saying RDP traffic. I'm saying called as a deny. So I'm creating a deny rule with a 210. So what happens here now? As already 200 is the priority rule of 100, it will allow all the traffic. But even though I create a deny rule after this, it will not work. I've changed the priority to 150. 150. Now, so what happened here now? My deny rule is the first priority than 200. But I denied the RDP from this IP address only to this virtual machine. Now, from this network, I'm taking the second virtual machine. I'm going to another network where we have denied it. I'm trying to access an RDP. I should not be able to access it. As I see from this IP network, I'm not able to access it. But let me take the first virtual machine public IP. Now I see that I'm able to access it. So that's how you can create a network security group and rules and assign to the virtual machine or a map to the virtual machine. So you have to be very careful that which rules should be high priority, which rules should be second priority, like third priority, which should come first, which should come second, which should come third, like the rules. Okay. So now I'm just changing this rule to 210, a deny rule. Now what happens here now? There is an allow rule from anywhere to these two virtual machines. But the next priority is 210, which is denying it here. As this rule matches, it allows. So I'm going to the second virtual machine. Earlier, we were not able to connect. Now we should be able to connect. Then we have to give it a minute or 2 minutes time to process to save or apply the new rules. Yeah. Now we can see that now it's prompting me for username and password. That means now I'm able to connect both the virtual machines. Now, what there is no use of creating a rule in this case because there is a deny rule. Sorry, there is an allow rule already in the high priority. So this way, we have to be very clear which rule should be in the order of it. So I'm giving it 150, just like that. Okay. So this is how you can use network security groups and you can that. Let's go to the outbound security rules. And let me go to this. So I'm connecting to one of the virtual machine, Azure Virtual Machine. Now I would see an internet access. So I'm able to access anything. So by default, outbound traffic is allowed. Now I'm creating an outbound rule. We say source from anywhere. A destination, I'm giving it an internet. So Microsoft has created tags like an internet traffic or virtual machine load balancer or anything. I'm selecting an internet. I'm selecting any port to the internet. I'm saying deny with a rule number called as 210. So what I was telling here now, I want to restrict internet access on the virtual machines. So the 210 rule says that from any source to any internet deny traffic. There is 6,000, 65,001 rule says allow, but 210 is the high priority rule. Now I'm going to the virtual machine. I am typing www.yahoo.com. My internet should not come because we have a deny rule created over there. As we see now, the virtual machine is not able to access the internet. It's not able to communicate with internet. So this is how you can use network security groups on the virtual machines. This is really useful maybe for small organizations running some and couple of virtual machines and still want to protect from internet security threats and everything. So if you like this video, please click on like and subscribe to this channel. So you'll get the entire access to the Azure AZ104 training.